Money is an acronym for my own natural energy yield. So if you want more abundance in your life, then you got to create that energy because it'll flow to you. Success in life, I believe, is like getting what you want, but I really focus a lot more on fulfillment, which is living what you're made for. Like what makes you feel good. But I've always held the line and stayed true to myself and continue to have those tough conversations about owning your energy, and because your energy is your currency. And so if you're not taking care of your own energy, then you're going to limit your ability to make a bigger impact.
Welcome back to the Soul Inspiring Business Podcast. You are in for a treat today because we are interviewing Brett Harmeling. He is an author, serial entrepreneur, philanthropist, and global speaker dedicated to advancing the human potential and well-being. As founder and CEO of Happy Life Labs and one of 5 business strategists for Tony Robbins, he leads a wellness and performance platform that helps individuals, leaders, and organizations optimize their health, energy, and environment so that they can truly perform at their highest level. And you know the podcast, so you know me. You know what I love about Brett's work is that it sits at the intersection of science, mindset, nature, and purpose, helping people unlock what Brett calls their superhuman potential. His journey into this work was deeply personal. We'll get into a little bit about his story, which really ultimately inspired a lifelong mission to helping others reclaim their vitality and design a life of greater energy, resilience, and impact. So with all that being said, thank you so much and welcome to the show, Brett.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Kara. I'm excited about today's session and looking to go as deep as you want to take it.
Absolutely. Well, so for context and for our listeners, so Brett and I were connected. He was speaking at an event that I was at, and it was interesting because you brought up the map of David Hawkins' map of consciousness on the screen. And I was like, wow, like he's my guy. Because there's not too many speakers that just start with that, and I think that it showed, I think, what a deep level of understanding of how you see the world and how to unlock those higher levels of consciousness, those higher levels of and frequencies and states of being, so that again, as I had mentioned earlier, to unlock that highest potential in us all. And really, this podcast was sort of bridged on the gap between like spirituality and business. And so I just love that you're here and that we're having this conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm so glad that these worlds are beginning to coexist more often. And, my whole life, I feel like I've been swimming upstream because it's been weird to talk about energy in enterprise situations and, bureaucratic environments. So that's why I find it I take it pretty seriously, but I also have fun with it as well.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I've been, doing the podcast since, I guess we launched in 2020. And for so long before that, just like you were mentioning, it was almost like taboo to talk about energy and this, like, many would say woo work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how it relates to business. But yet I know even for me personally, I'd been working in this, for decades. And so I just didn't talk about it. And so I remember when I was first launching the podcast, it was kind of scary. So it's like, are people going to resonate with this? But I think to your point, it's great that it's becoming more, I think, talked about and more accepted because it is our currency, right? So I'd love for you to share with us, everybody starts somewhere and everybody has kind of like a pivotal moment to some degree that shapes the rest of their life. And I know that was true for you. So can you talk a little bit about how you were thrown into this world, maybe?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So as energetic beings, we're impacted by energy, whether that's through trauma, like maybe our parents loved us, but they didn't raise us the way that we needed them to. And so we have these wounds that we carry around. And it's kind of our mission to turn those wounds into wisdom. And then, that's why people that like myself that have had a lot of traumatic experiences and then have navigated that journey by going in, like the way out is good to go in. And so to seek the truth and define what that lesson is, because I believe that like God and the universe will keep teaching you the lesson until you learn it. And so the word trauma is kind of like a buzzword, honestly, but like life happens for us, not to us. So if you can have that reframe, that's a one way to set your mind free, because we're all dealing with certain situations in life, and life is truly unfair and it's unpredictable, and we don't know when our last day is going to come. And so I know I say that like just off the tip of my tongue, but that's because I deal with it. And so every day I literally wake up super grateful to be here, and I'm just blessed to be able to share, kind of my work and where I was and where I am now and where I'm going, because I think it's an inspiring story to grow up on a farm with like limited tools and limited access. Access is something that I want to focus on a lot today, and authority, becoming the authority of your life, meaning like whether that's in a company or in your business, because if you're not, you're just holding back from your full potential. So that's kind of where it started and began, is just figuring out how to take care of myself, because I just said one of my hockey coaches had said, nobody's coming to save you, and you got to take care of yourself, So I heard nobody's coming to save you. I live by that mantra, and it's true. You got to save yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny. I was just on a retreat just last week, and the whole thing, we kept saying over and over, life happens for us, not to us,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't agree more. It's like, again, when you have that perspective, when you've been through tough things, you really have a choice on how you're going to interpret that. I mean, it's very interesting, I think, for humans to study the human being and see how some people can be in the same circumstance and yet perceive it so differently, right? But in some ways, do you think that you're born that way, or do you think that it's just luck by who comes in? Like, how do you see that as to what distinguishes somebody from going same situation, same set of parents, same circumstances, one goes this way, one goes that way?
There's a few lessons that I've learned in this journey, and like, I'm a big God guy, Christ follower and believer. And so I just know that God will meet you at the depth of your surrender, not at the height of your struggle. And so like just letting go, and then just trusting and believing in something that's bigger than yourself. Because the truth is we're miracles to be alive even. And so we need to take that seriously. And then I would say I'm just well studied. So if I don't know the answer to something, or if I'm passionately curious about things, which I am about everything, so education teaches us information, but intelligence is knowing what to do with it. And so you build this innate intelligence, and then you figure out how you fit in the fabric of humanity. And once you kind of know where you fit and where you can have an impact, and you go in that direction, it's pretty hard to fail. And the goal of people that are really high growth, high achieving professionals like you and I, Kara, is like, how can I fail today, or how can I get told no? Because I know if I'm just everyone's saying yes, that like I'm really like I'm not, like there's no growth really happening. Although it might feel like it because my bank account's filling up, I don't feel like I'm solving bigger problems. And that's another thing. You might feel like you've fixed or solved a problem. The truth is God is just preparing you for bigger problems to solve, because he believes in you. And so I'm like, man, is it going to get easier? No, it's usually going to get tougher, but you'll have the tools and you'll be equipped with, thicker skin to navigate tougher challenges, whether that's personally or professionally, by the way.
Yeah, so true. It's so funny. I often look back at, just like 5 years ago even, and I'm like, gosh, I thought I was so stressed then, or was handling so much. And now it's like, I feel more at peace, but I'm handling a much bigger thing. And it's because, when you invest in yourself, and when you can just take on more. I love how you phrased that, because God prepares you for bigger things. I guess when you were take us back, because I know you had a traumatic brain injury. Was that the thing, or were you already on this journey? Like, did that set you on this journey, or were you already there?
That didn't actually. That was the opportunity to heal for the first time, and myself. And so that put me on a journey that led me into big pharma, and I decided to kind of get off the medications, which is a very dangerous thing to do, as they'll tell you. And it put me down on a dark path for 2 years of my life. And so I had to reclaim my own vitality by figuring out the ways to do it naturally. And so I started using different frequency devices, so pulse electromagnetic field therapy, as well as different specific light frequencies. Specifically, I was using like a device called the SonoSpace Photon, and that device penetrates the right nanometer wavelength frequencies all the way through your brain, whereas some of these technologies, they just impact like up to 2 inches. And so I actually had complete neurogenesis from doing that, and then functional medicine and incorporating things that would allow my body to heal itself versus just, putting something in myself like SSRIs and Adderall, and just a lethal combination in terms of feeling human, right? If I ever missed taking those drugs, I did not feel like myself, and that's how I knew that I needed to get off them. And so I took the risk and I did it, and it kind of set me free. And because whatever you lose in your life, so I felt like I lost myself, whatever you lose actually creates space for something more, the right stuff. And so I just had practice and embodied that spirit and energy. And, I just I got into movement, meaning like yoga and just mindful movement and meditation. And I learned, and I'm still learning every day, Kara. I'm not perfect, but I'm learning what things work for me to have a calm and regulated nervous system. Because I know that when my body's in homeostasis, aka balance, that I'm much more powerful and impactful. I'm a high energy guy, so a lot of my work is not getting me amped up. It's actually bringing me down and bringing me centered and grounded. And so that's my work. And it takes a lot of years to figure that out.
Yeah, I love that, because I think that a lot of entrepreneurs or people doing business at a high level resonate with. I'm sure many of our listeners are like, oh yeah, because and also I think in our culture, we're always taught this like hustle mentality of like work hard, play hard, and everything's about going hard. And luckily there's, and it's almost like the yogis or the meditation again has sort of been like set to the side.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, when I have time, I'll do that. Well, it's not going to happen. First of all, like you're never going to just magically have time. You have to create time. But also I think what you're saying, and what I know to be true for myself too, is when you create the time to center and ground and get into that like more meditative state, you can then lift higher in the next thing that you're doing, right? It's like you go ground to like lift and expand higher. And so for people that's probably resonating with, that are listening to this, and somebody that maybe has never been introduced to some of this work or still feels like, I don't really know how to incorporate this into my daily life, what are some things that you might recommend that they do to get started?
Yeah. So the foundation of health, is understanding that we're electromagnetic beings, meaning we charge by the sun's frequency and the earth's magnetism. And if we are literally overriding those natural universal life force systems, then we're compromising our vitality. And so I say that because if you can't watch the sun rise, which like I'm one of those people because we live in Houston, then bringing that same frequency of light into your home is possible now because of modern technology. And so getting your light right is a really important thing, especially if you have a traumatic brain injury. And by the way, most people have had a traumatic brain injury, like over 50%, and then you just don't know it. Yeah, think about it. You're a kid, you hit your head when you're little, or and so you just kind of, and we grow through them, but we just it's different when you wake up in a hospital bed and you can't remember like what your mom's name is. But at the same time, it's like it's just that we're all on a journey, and so getting the light right is a really important factor. And I won't go too deep into it, just in the spirit of time. But getting your light right, getting morning minerals and clean, structured, filtered water in your system. I use all those terms because it's really bad to be unconscious about the kind of water that you're putting in your system. It can actually do more harm. Back in the day, if you think about it, like nobody was drinking 8 glasses of water. That's a pretty ridiculous thing to demand of people to do. And so the reason that the world went that way is because we're not typically drinking clean, structured water. When you drink structured water that's filled, with minerals, you don't need as much water and your body's actually more hydrated.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
I know it's
getting the
funny because I always talk about we've got the most hydrated nation, like
yeah yeah
because
yeah
we like took water at school, had like a water fountain. I mean, now
yeah.
kids have like water bottles in class, and
The
but it's really
water is a primary resource for vitality. Of course, it's foundation, and
interesting.
then morning
And I'm sorry,
movement.
just to back up.
Yeah.
So when you say structured water, though, what should we be looking for? What does that actually mean if you're drinking tap water, for
Well,
example?
if you can find an artesian well, that means it's coming naturally, gravity fed from Earth. It's pumping out of the Earth naturally. Typically, that's really good because that means it's ran down like billions of sediment through a mountain and whatnot. And you can find them if you
Mm,
just search them online. If you can't get access to that, then you're gonna want to like start looking at the different types of waters. Typically, the water that we recommend and implement into all the clients and businesses that we work with is called Kangen, and that's a Japanese word for return to origin.
mm.
And why that's important is your water will go through a pre-filtration, and then it'll go into this machine, and then it'll go through a process called ionization. Since we don't have billions of rocks for the water to pick up sediment and get electromagnetically charged by, this machine does it underneath your counter. And so when you pour the water, it looks almost cloudy. That's because it's filled with molecular hydrogen.
Oh,
Hydrogen is an amazing super molecule. It's a gas, right? But when you consume it, then it delivers oxygen deeper into the cells. And so you're actually getting this just unbelievable effectiveness on the system. And so
incredible. And that's different than reverse osmosis or some of those systems that exist, I
So
suppose.
like most of the water in the world is like that is dead water, meaning it
Mm,
doesn't hold anything. Like if you looked at it under a microscope, you wouldn't notice any type of structure.
mm,
Whereas if you put water through an ionizer, you are able to see the water actually form structure. And this is not stuff I'm making up. This is like ancient stuff, but through devices like that, and there's other devices out there called like UMH, and you can even use some red light to structure your water.
mm.
That water will literally stick to your body. Just think about it like sticking to your body in a more impactful way, where you probably have to drink half as much water. And I'm not a doctor, but you literally feel hydrated because the water that you're consuming is actually being delivered to you on a cellular level.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
Yep.
So sorry, I
So
didn't mean to interrupt, but I had to go back because I was like, wait a
yeah,
minute. Oh,
we
more.
could spend the whole podcast talking about water because it's
I
that
know.
important. But and then the third kind of thing, which I feel like I'm always talking about, which most people just don't do, is movement, and specifically movement, like functional movement, like just moving your body in any way, shape, or form. So whatever you're doing, I advise you to like think about it. Are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it to yourself? It's a really different energy, right? Like CrossFit, you typically like, I'm gonna crush my body today, and like that's like you're like literally compromising your long-term health. And so oftentimes when I'm overdoing it, I just remind myself like I'm gonna live to 200 years old. I need to be mindful about taking care of my body and not pushing it beyond the limits that I just feel are necessary. And so really getting like movement equals medicine. And when we put our body into motion, so energy in motion equals emotion, right?
Hmm.
And so that's why I say it's so important, because when we move energy through our body, then we feel a different emotional state, and the quality of your life depends on what emotion you feel the most consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And so usually when you move, I don't know who's hearing this, but usually when you move, right, you feel good, or you
Yeah.
feel something different, or you feel like free. That's usually what you feel when you move. And so it's really important. And if you can do movement while actually touching the earth, that's like the super play, meaning like no shoes, I'm talking barefoot, I'm talking touching the earth. You need to be non-negotiable to touching the earth every single day.
Mm. Yeah. That's one of the reasons whenever I go to the beach, I'm like
Mm.
toes in the sand, walk the beach for like hour to 2 hours every day. It's the best. So
It is the best. And where the sea meets the sand, it's called the ecotone. And that is the area that is most electrostatically charged in the world. And so if you want to do grounding, where the sea, like the waves hit the sand because of the turnover, that's where the biggest and best grounding in the world is.
Wow. Well, no wonder I have my best ideas when I'm walking right there in the water, right at that, intersection. So,
Of
um,
course, and the
yeah,
and the, and the science is you're it's negatively it's an ionization process. So you like actually release tension and stress and inflammation and all these things.
hmm,
Just because it's heavy, Kara, doesn't mean you have to carry it, right? And so it's
right.
like, okay, it actually literally subconsciously releases it and allows your nervous system to actually feel at ease, which then makes you feel different, which then allows you to see things different, which then allows you to take action in your life because you're not held back by the barriers and the constraints that you've been carrying around for so long.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's all connected.
All connected. Well, and it's so interesting. So I love too that you started with light because I know I love going on morning walks and out in nature, and uh, I always wear my sunglasses. And I remember my business coach, who's a kinesiologist, and she was like, "You need to take off those sunglasses. Your eyes need the morning light." And I really, actually, I mean, for being in this work a long time, I just really didn't know that. I just was always on have my sunglasses on. So, but if you don't, like to your point, if you don't have the morning light to look into, then um, what are some ways that people can I guess do that with some of the technology that's out there?
Yeah, the best tool that I have in the portfolio, which by the way, we have 100 companies. We've reviewed 3,000 products. We only have 100. We only represent the world's best products, and so anything that I'm recommending is like battle tested. We put it through testing. We have a whole program, and companies that are inside of our portfolio are like very blessed to be there because we represent, the world's most elite athletes and hotels and families, and so we only represent the best. And so I say that because I've done a lot of research since 2013 in this space. And the number one tool that I would suggest is called the Sauna Space, and they rebranded it. It's called the Firelight now,
Hmm.
but it throws off the right spectrum of red light for your body to get into rhythm, get into motion. And so we have biological clocks, and chronotherapy is a really important thing. So we are so affected by light, and why? And people are like, this is going to blow your mind. What light you get in, like the first light you see in the morning determines how good your sleep architecture will be that night.
Really? So if you're on your phone and that's your first light, that's not good.
Yeah, you can almost check it off that you're going to have like an average night of sleep instead of an excellent night of sleep.
Wow.
And I'm
And
not talking like
yeah.
take 10 minutes to do this. I'm talking 2 minutes of just getting the first light in your body, because light is a signal. We have a cellular response. We're light beings. We respond to light, whether it's good or bad. And so we absorb that. That's why you should have absolutely zero lights in your room at night, if possible, because your body's communicating with it subconsciously. And so
Mm.
you have a little bit of stress. Like, what's that light over there? Even the little light on the fire thing, like block it out. Your body's noticing that. And so, yeah, when you show your body that good light that it can actually eat and absorb and do something with, it stimulates the mitochondria, which is the cell's powerhouse, which increases ATP production, which is energy, which gives you, which sets the circadian rhythm of the whole day. So your energy will be more consistent and drained versus like going through like a roller coaster of ups and downs throughout the day.
Mm.
Now, I'm not saying like especially in America, like life demands a lot of us. So I'm not saying you'll be like pure, but I will say you will notice a significant impact on your just on your on the energy throughout the day.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. And I also love that you mentioned that you do have, just a very select um, group of brands that you have basically will warrant battle test, because I think so many of us, we look on our phones and how many times do we have like the next influencer that's talking about this red light therapy thing or this thing you can buy on Amazon, and there's so many things and it's hard to know what's just good marketing versus what's actually going to work.
It's
So
it's pretty bad out there. It's like dangerous because let's say you're like, oh, you hear red light therapy, you go buy a device. Well, what do you know about that device? Is it like emitting EMF, electromagnetic fields that are actually over stimulating your cells and causing you to age faster, even though your skin looks better for 1 hour? And
right.
so it's really important to bring the right products and tools into your life so that you can actually take radical control of your own health.
Yeah, amazing. So we've gone through some of those, things that you can do to really, I guess, increase your frequency. Um, what are other ways that you coach people into getting in? And I know there's like a lot of different ways you could take this question. So the most you want to do with it, I'll let you run with it. Um, you know, Coaching people to get into their highest potential. Like it sounds sort of lofty sometimes, like what is this highest potential? What is this, what does that mean to you? And for somebody that is like, this is interesting. And how do I maximize what I'm doing? Because I look at it as like maximizing your impact in the world, to some
Yeah.
degree. But
Yep.
how do you get into that field? What are the other ways? How would you help somebody think through that?
So that's a lot to unpack because
Yeah.
it's a simple yet complicated response. You can only go as big as, like, you'll only go as you'll make the, like, your branches will grow towards the light, meaning your impact will only be as much as you're willing to go into the darkness. Which, I mean, darkness, not like a scary place, but like vulnerability. So
Mm.
willing to tell yourself the truth. And so my equation is pretty simple. It's truth plus vulnerability equals power. So if you want to live in power and you want to live in peak state, you got to be willing to tell yourself the truth. Like, look in the mirror. Do you like what you see or not? If you don't, then like you have to change it. And you have to be vulnerable. Vulnerable is a dangerous, may sound like a dangerous word, but it's whatever we're not changing, we're choosing. And so you got to be willing to say, okay, like, I might be the smartest doctor in the world, but if there is a thing that helps my client heal faster, why would I not want to know about it? And there's so many people that turn a blind eye to new ways of thinking. And, this critical thinking and thought leadership is it's like a lost art in our world now. And so I just challenge every single person to like trust, but verify everything that they hear, and just our bodies are innately intelligent, meaning like we can't even, anytime that we override a decision that we knew that wasn't a good decision, we feel it physically in our body.
Mm-hmm.
Relationship, job, food choice, you name it. And I'm saying this like on this podcast, but I'm also human too. So I deal with this every single day. So staying in peak state, the number one tool that I use might sound cheesy, but it's gratitude. Anytime I think the going gets tough, or like, is it impossible to break through this to the next level, or make an X amount of money, or whatever the thing is, I literally focus on what I have in my life, because I'm grateful for what I have and for what I don't have. As you rise and as you gain more power, there's honestly a lot of responsibility that comes with that, and it can be overwhelming. And so sometimes just have gratitude for exactly where you are in life. Obviously I recommend not comparing yourself to other people. There's a lot of speaker heads out there right now, and it might be like, well, that guy made it, I can do it. Like, no, it's not. It doesn't like work like that.
Yeah.
Your story is your story. Stay focused on your story and don't get confused or distracted. Now, there's good people out there that want to help you and serve you and help you make the biggest impact, and you got to find those people that actually care. And that's one of the reasons that I joined forces with Tony Robbins, is because I've been doing his work since 2010, at least one program a year. And I just believe he's the world's most transformational leadership coach to ever exist. He is taken the world's best tools, people, philosophies, technologies, and brought them to one place to help people grow and win. And his impact is just undeniable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that, I do think that in the coaching space, in the, like, to your point, a lot of like speakers, coaches, it feels like they're trying to develop this following, and then they're almost kind of like harvesting energy from the people that they're, the followers that they're getting, that's propping them up. And there are some really amazing, good-hearted people, and there are some not good people, And so I think you also have to be discerning with the people that you're going to allow in your space. And I think that's what, you've obviously really followed your intuition with that journey as well, and figuring out who are the right brands to align with, the right people to align with, that really are going to lift you up while you lift them up. You know what I mean? Like, it's so that we can all rise together,
Of course. Yeah. I believe in the math 1+1=3, because I'm an exponential impact thing. And now that I'm at where I'm at in my life, I don't really say yes to anything unless the project that I'm taking on is going to have exponential impact. And what I mean by that is like not just moving the needle from like, let's do 100,000 in sales to like 200. I'm talking like, let's go from 100,000 to 100 million, right? Or like, let's change the entire industry using technology and science and thought leadership and critical thinking and all those tools that are just way overlooked. Because the truth is, like, a leader cannot transform an organization beyond their own ability to transform themselves. So like the leader that you're following, like the questions you should be asking them is like, are they doing their own work? Like, who are they learning and growing from? Because there's like really no original ideas, right? So ideas get derived from hearing other things out there in the world, and we're just sponges and we make it our own. But like, there's really no original ideas. We're just sourcing them and sharing them freely. So,
yeah.
And some people just simply won't like you because of your title, or that they won't like you because you had less and did more. Like, it could be that simple, and that's fine.
Right. Yeah. And then it's like, but that's okay. You can bless them and move them along, I know people, I say all the time on the podcast that one of my biggest mantras is, God, bring me the people that I'm meant to serve today, and lovingly remove the ones that I'm not. And so that way I just kind of then am brought the people that I'm meant to serve. And sometimes I may not even know the people that I'm not meant to, because you're just in a space that attracts in the people that you're meant to be with, I guess the other question I had for you was really more how you view how you meditate, or what that practice looks like for you. Do you have a practice, a meditation practice, or a way of getting in tune with God or your own guidance and intuition?
Yeah, since I'm a busy guy, a lot of my meditation looks like incorporated with movement. So instead of like listening to high energy songs, I listen to songs with specific frequencies that allow me to regulate my nervous system. And so with that being said, I also start every single morning in like hitting my knees with prayer. I don't just say that, I literally do that. And just to what you said, instead of waking up being like, what do I got to do today? I say, God, like, how can I like show me how to serve today? Show, like, every single day, how can I serve? You've given me these resources, and I that's another thing I teach people is you don't own your money. You don't own your money. It's a resource, and if you don't do good with it, it'll be taken away from you in the form of a lawsuit, a health crisis. Something will happen to you if you're not stewarding God's resources in the right way. And yeah, it's simple. When it comes to meditation, as a 500-hour certified yoga instructor, like, I've taught meditation and yoga and movement for many, many years now, and it can be a scary word for people to hear, honestly. And so just the word meditation means to become familiar with. And so you're taking time to become more familiar with who you are so you can show up in a bigger way. And when you realize that's all you're doing, like watching clouds pass in the sky, you're not like, oh, that one was dangerous and big and scary, and that one's beautiful and fluffy. You just notice them, and you just have try not to have any thoughts about that thing, feeling, or emotion. And there's tons of ways to meditate. The most significant breakthroughs that I've ever had in my life are because of breath work. Breath work plus movement equals transformation.
Yeah. Is there a specific breathwork practice? I know there's different types of, breath work. What do you practice typically?
So there's limitless types of breath work, and the most important type of breath work, like if you're just starting or you're really advanced, is the one that makes you feel how you want to feel. So if you want a lot of energy and you want like life force, pranayama is what breath work means in Sanskrit. And so doing ujjayi breath, which is like, ujjayi is like the breath of victory, and it's breathing in and out through your nose with your tongue on the roof of your mouth. And so it's kind of like got this oceanic sound, and it's meant to replicate like waves and power. And really what's really powerful about it is it just allows you to bring nitric oxide and oxygen into your body. And once again, oxygen equals energy. So the more oxygen you have in your body, the presence of oxygen equals the absence of disease. And so you want to get that stuff out of you, and like seriously doing transformational breath work. I recommend if you go really doing a deep one to have a facilitator, because they'll take you deeper than you would, then you'll let yourself go. I'm talking to the point where you can't move your hands because you're clinched up and you're like, can't move your body. Yeah. I'm talking it's like incredible the kind of things that can happen when you bring oxygen deep into stuck areas in your body, especially if you've dealt with a lot of trauma. And then also be mindful if you're in elevation to not to be kind to yourself, because breath work is really challenging because you have less oxygen. So you can pass out and have a situation. So
interesting. I've tried to meditate on the plane before, and it's always really difficult for me to ground, actually. So,
really? Okay.
Go figure. But
yeah. So there's binaural beats, which means that's a fancy way of saying like different frequencies playing at different hemispheres of the brain, and with patterns and different rhythms and frequencies, and that will allow your brain to get into beta, which is like the relaxed state. There's also different types of things that you can take to down regulate your brain that are very natural, like not like anything that would take you out or make you feel weird. And so just studying and learning about these tools that are from nature, derived from nature, and putting them in, on, or around you is how you're going to optimize your best self.
Yeah. This is amazing. I could go on and like talk for another hour about all this stuff because it's so fascinating. And so I think that, one more thing I want to touch on that you actually just said as well before we were talking about breath work was about money and allowing it to flow. And one of the things that I think, is so powerful is, again, money is just really a resource, and it's got an energy as well. And so, if you try to hoard it or not pay your bills on time or things like that, like it'll get stuck because you're, so it's like, learning, but it's learning how to be a good steward of money, right? So that you can spend it on the right things, invest in the right things. And I think sometimes like when you spend, it comes back to you when you are spending with intention and discernment, so, but again, allowing money to flow, I think is super important when you're talking about attracting more money.
It really is. And, it's the equation's simple. Learn more, earn more, return more. I believe like the secret to living is giving. And, the more that we give, it just feels good. It just feels good to give. And giving more than you even feel comfortable. I've never felt bad when that's come in. And when I actually built a financial advisory practice, going back to one of the things that I've done in my lifetime, and I actually like brought in the energy component to it. And I taught people that money is an acronym for my own natural energy yield.
Oh, I love that.
And so if you want more abundance in your life and money, then you got to create that energy because it'll flow to you.
Yeah.
So
yes.
It was a cool thing that I came up with. But, success in life, I believe, is like getting what you want. But I really focus a lot more on fulfillment, which is living what you're made for. Like what makes me feel good. So I'm always focused on fulfillment versus success. Cause, if you get that Porsche or that house or that wife, but like, you're not happy, like what was the point?
Yeah. And that puts you in, if you look at David Hawkins and map of consciousness and putting you into higher and higher frequencies of being, at the highest what is the highest? Is it enlightenment, or what was the highest?
Enlightenment. Yep.
Yeah. So, but it's moving up that consciousness so that you're living in the joy codes, in the love codes, and the peace codes. And so all of what we've been talking about today is really about activating you so that you can, like the physical things that are really important to understand to get you into these emotional and psychological kind of frequencies or higher level frequencies. So it's been really fascinating. I just have loved talking to you. And I know if our listeners want to find out, is there anything else that you want to share or anything else that you wanted to say that I cut you off on? Sorry.
I just think it's important to be passionately curious and take radical control of your own health. Like be your own doctor, like with all the AI tools, like put in your blood work and put in all your things and like have a private tool that like literally tells you what to do. And, this work that Kara and I are talking about around like energy work and like you're human, so you feel energy. So just notice what you start feeling And look up Hawkins scale of consciousness and it'll show you, because like emotions and the way that you show up actually has a feeling. And once you start to recognize those feelings, you'll see what patterns you're running in your life. And when you become an expert in pattern recognition, then you can actually change the course of your life, because you're like, oh yeah, I don't want to do that. So you switch the pattern, and then it actually changes the action, and then you change your life. So it's really all connected. We're talking about the root cause, the nucleus of change, which is, how your energy is on a cellular level. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I got for the crew today.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, it really is about awareness, right? It begins with awareness and from there, you can then start to make choices to change your life. So it's just been an awesome conversation. I've loved getting to know you, and I'm excited to continue to follow you and all that you're doing. Can you share anything of what you're doing with Tony Robbins right now, or anything, what's kind of next in that world?
So I just transitioned and got in the game with Tony recently. Incredible honor to be serving alongside of him, and I'll be serving as one of his business strategists, which is essentially a way to give entrepreneurs that are looking to bridge the gap from where they are to where they want to be, giving them the tools and resources that Tony has mastered. They're actually called the 7 forces of business mastery. And so getting people the right resources so that they can take control of their business, which is, like Tony believes, it's a business is you. Like if it's not you, then it's not your business. And so it's really important to take those tools and to put them into motion and put them into action so you can see what you're creating. Otherwise, you need to do something different with your life. And so it's an absolute honor to be able to serve alongside of him, because just for perspective, and those that don't know Tony Robbins that well, he has over 110 companies doing $10 billion a year, and he doesn't operate a single one of them.
Wow.
So clearly, like I said, passionately curious. He has something figured out. And so why not learn from someone who's really got the system dialed in? And what an amazing resource we have in him to share, that he's shared, like, this is what I'm doing. Here's my blueprint. Like, take it and apply it to your business. I want to see you win too.
Yeah.
And so it's been awesome so far.
So good. So good. Well, when I first started the podcast, these were the types of conversations that I was hoping to have, and it's every conversation is new and different and exciting. And I just so appreciate your time, because really bridging the gap between these two worlds, I think is coming close. The gap is getting smaller. We still have a long way to go, but I love that, these conversations are happening more and more, and I love connecting with people just like you. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. And if somebody wants to, we'll put your info in the show notes, but if anybody wants to reach you, what is the best way that they can get a hold of you?
I would say either on LinkedIn, Brett Harmeling, or Instagram, Brett Harmeling. And outside of that, you can feel free to post my email on there. If you have a message or an inquiry that you want to have a breakthrough around, just feel free to drop me a note.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much.